Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, April 23rd to Saturday, April 29th. Okay, so last week, let's talk about last week. We're still sitting in the energies of last week. What do I mean by that? Well, first of all, we went into this last week with the attempt to wrap up Aries season. And of course, that Aries season transition into Taurus season was, of course, eclipsed out. We had the new moon solar eclipse taking place at the 29th degree in Aries energy. It was very karmic in nature. We're still sitting in it. It busted open this eclipse portal that, of course, will not be closed until we go through the full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio. And then when we have the new moon in Taurus, right before we jump into Gemini season, that will officially close the door on the eclipse portal. So just kind of keep in mind, we have 3 weeks right now where we are at the mercy of the cosmos. We are in a realignment, a recalibration phase. We have to expect the unexpected. We're being sorted out in a big way, karmically speaking. So we have this new moon eclipse energy just totally wipe us out. If I'm speaking for the collective, the majority of the people that I've spoke to had huge amounts of exhaustion. Now, our inner realms were definitely revving very high, but the physical energy was lacking. And of course, although Aries energy is an action energy, we're really not in a time of action. We're in a time of contemplating the actions that we want to take. We had that new moon eclipse energy peak. Only hours later, the sun moved into Taurus energy, closing out Aries season. We're moving into a fixed earth sign. Of course, the sun squared off, got into the boxing ring with Pluto, because of course, Pluto's over there at a 0 degree in Aquarius energy. The sun being at a 0 degree in Taurus energy brought a huge amount of intensity, a huge amount of realizations where the challenges, where the obstacles are, what it is that we actually have to destroy, what it is we have to bust through, what it is that we have to build. Now, you've been hearing me rant and rave through all the different forecasts about how this particular Taurus season is going to feel totally different than most Taurus seasons. Why is that? Well, yes, the eclipse, but Mercury just went retrograde, my friends. That is right. If you're listening to me Friday evening, first of all, I want to thank you for being in the chat, but also just want to let you know that here on the 21st is when Mercury actually goes retrograde in this Taurus energy. So Taurus season notoriously is about, getting comfortable, about finding stability, feeling very connected to our 5 senses, using that to navigate what it is that we want to build, what it is we want to create, moving forward. Well, we don't really have control over too much right now because the eclipse energy, and because Mercury just went retrograde, we have to go back before we can move forward. We have a lot of reflection to do. We have a lot of revision to do. We have some re-edits that we have to kind of make in our lives. We're re-examining or re-evaluating our physical lives, what it is that we've already built, what it is that we're still in alignment with, what it is that we're not in alignment with, where it is that we have to reorganize, restructure our physical realms to orient ourselves to happiness, joy, pleasure, comfort, safety, security, stability. Now, how do we illuminate to what that may be for us in our realms? Well, through conflict, through uncomfortability, through instability, through unhappiness, through the lack of joy and pleasure that we will realize as we take a good look at the lives in which we've built, which we've already created, and figure out what needs to stay, what needs to go, what needs to die, what needs to grow. That's where we're at. That's what we're doing. We are still very much in the new moon energy, still very much in eclipse energy, very much in this retrograde energy. We always want to pay attention to the first couple of days of any planet when they first go retrograde, because this is where the most disruption is going to take place. Now, classically speaking, retrograde, we have to make sure that we understand that misunderstandings are going to be a thing. Miscommunication, we're not speaking correctly. Our heart and our head are kind of in a disconnect, mostly because our head space that Mercury rules over is drugged, essentially. We're in an altered state of consciousness. We have to let our heart space, our intuition, our soul self lead us through this retrograde, through the alignment process. This is why we're going through a recalibration, a realignment of our energies. This eclipse that we just had, that we're still very much feeling, is karmically speaking, pushing us into a new level of consciousness. It just closed the door on the last 20 years. It is opening up a portal for the next 20 years, but even more than that, in the here and now, in the smaller type of cycle, we have leveled up in ways, in frequencies, in vibrations, in consciousness that we didn't even plan on. And this is why eclipse season is kind of wackadoodle, because it really needs to kind of, first of all, it needs to feel overwhelming. It needs to feel crazy. It needs to feel chaotic in order for us to kind of surrender, like, oh my goodness, like we're processing so much at one time. Things just seem to happen. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Doop, doop, doop. Usually comes in threes. And when I say to you that you will be shocked at where it is that you're at 3 weeks from now, please believe me when I say that you may not even recognize your environment. You may not even recognize yourself in the mirror. You may not even recognize your own energy, your own frequency. I had a lot of people reach out to me under the like on the actual eclipse day saying, hey, I just lost my job, or hey, my relationship for the last 7 years just fell apart. Hey, I no longer, feel aligned to do the work that I've been doing. All of these like abrupt revelations, abrupt changes, unexpected events. This is what eclipse season is. And then, of course, the question that follows that statement of, hey, this came out of the woodwork, this happened to me already, like, what am I supposed to do with this? That question is like, what do I do now? What am I supposed to do? Like the question of thinking. And what I will say to you, just as I say to my clients when they reach out, is that you're not supposed to be using your brain right now. Don't overthink it. The fact that you're trying to intellectually sort out and come up with reasons or understandings of why these things are happening, you're going against the eclipse energy. You're just supposed to surrender to it. Okay, this happened. Great, or not great, depending on your perspective. Remember that things are happening for you. They're not happening to you. And also just consider the fact that you can't think your way through these particular situations. You have to feel your way through. And you're not going to see the full circle, full completion of these events until essentially 3 weeks from now. So if something abrupt has happened to you, if there's been a life-changing event happen to you, please recognize it's karmic in nature. It's supposed to be happening. Do not resist change. The more you resist, the more difficult it's going to be. It's better to roll than to be dragged. And B, stop trying to make sense of it. That this is karmic. This is energetic. This is spiritual. You're not going to make sense of it right now. You will eventually get to a point where you'll look back on this and be like, oh, damn, that was a blessing in disguise. I get it now. That's not happening right now. Right now, what you have to do is observe the topics and themes that are coming to your attention, the unexpected events, the wild card energies that are pushing you away from your attachments, to your routines, to what it is that you have been doing, and observe the space that is now being opened up for you to create something better in its place. But to try and intellectually think your way through the next 3 weeks, you're asking for trouble. You're asking for a lot more torture and punishment than you really need to be. Just enjoy the ride. Okay, put your helmet on, put your elbow pads on, put your knee pads on, energetically, spiritually speaking. Be bold, be brave, be courageous, lean into the adventure. And in 3 weeks' time, it's going to make a lot more sense. And even more than that, like the fact that eclipse season, when eclipse and retrogrades happen at the same time, first of all, it's a double whammy of karma. Okay, so we're in a very, very important time of change and transformation right now. There's no denying that. By the time we actually enter into, I'm going to say June, although primarily the second week of June, just because we have a Jupiter squaring Pluto at the end of this little adventure that is going to open up choice points and decision points and cluster Fs and opportunities that really will not make sense until the first, technically second week of June. It's better to hold off. If you have some major decisions that you need to be making, hold off until the end of the first week of June. Okay, and if you want a little bit more information on why I'm saying that, please refer back to the 2023 energy forecast that I put out at the beginning of the year for this particular time period. And, you know, when we move into May, and I know here I haven't even gotten into what it is that we're doing this week, but when we move into May, we have some pretty major astrology setting us up for a very important choice point. We always want to consider that May into June is always a peak time for timeline jumping, for soul contract renewal and initiation. And it's a time of experimentation. And the minute that we move into Gemini season, and I know we're talking a little bit prematurely saying that we just moved into Taurus season, but we move into Gemini season, that is where the polarized decision points come into play. And when you take a look ahead of the astrology that we're about to move into May, into June, clearing out this eclipse energy, clearing out Mercury's retrograde, because newsflash, Pluto is going to be going retrograde May 1st. When we clear those particular energies out, it's going to have a totally different vibe, totally different landscape, present us with totally different options. So we're just we're at the very beginning phases of being sorted out. So I don't want you to lose your shit. Okay, I know it's hard when you have a wackadoodle, events coming at you. But again, I've been preaching to the choir here that you have to expect the unexpected, and that, this isn't a punishment. It could seem that way at the beginning of it, but if you acted as the observer and seen that everything was being divinely scripted in order to take you away from attachments that are no longer serving you and push you into paths that are more in alignment with your heart and soul's purpose, maybe you could accept the changes that are taking place without your permission a little bit easier. So I know that was a mouthful, but let me just touch on the fact that this week we will be wrapping up April and the life lessons that April provided us with. If you need a refresher on that, please go back, listen to the April energy forecast. But the only thing that we got going on this week is building towards the first quarter moon in Leo on the 27th, technically the 28th for some of us. That is the heart and soul of the zodiac. The first quarter moon is always a point of action. And we see that action take place through the realization of what isn't working and what we're being called to pursue. Having it in Leo energy means that we're going to be bold and brave and courageous enough to actually do what it is that we're being called to do, to pursue new paths of happiness, of passion, of desire. And fun fact, this first quarter moon in Leo is the halfway point, technically speaking, between the two eclipses that we are in the midst of right now. And to have that heart and soul be activated halfway through is definitely going to provide us with a different perspective, a different choice point, a different decision crossroads point as well. And so whatever it is that you're currently contemplating, thinking, feeling right now will suddenly shift and change by the end of next week, technically, and then change again under the full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio energy, which again is the beginning of the end for the Taurus and Scorpio axis that we will see a full completion point come to head in the fall. And that, of course, means that we are moving into the Aries and Libran axis of the true nodes of the moon in July. This is why we're getting a taste of this energy right now, so that we know that what we're setting ourselves up for the next year and a half, 2 years of life lessons. But this week, thank goodness, we only have the first quarter moon in Leo going on. We're gifted an opportunity to kind of just sit back and watch things happen. This is observer type of mentality, observer of type of week, where we need to kind of settle in to these very chaotic energies, if there is such a thing, and really just kind of take the hints, see the clues on what it is that the universe is kind of throwing at us to see where it is that we need to go from here. So I'll dive into that in just a second when I go on a little bit of a mini rant with the Ascension symptoms. But first, I just want to cover a couple of things on my homework list, and that starts with a huge thank you. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting. As you know, my channel is taking a major hit over these last couple of months. I have never been lower in my numbers and never been lower in the payout that I get from all the ad space here on my videos. It's very, very discouraging, but that leads into my second thank you, which is thank you to those that shifted over to Patreon. And even more than that, thank you so much to those Patreon members that actually upgraded to the new gold tier. For those of you that don't know, I added a gold tier over on my Patreon that includes all of the moon guides, all of the e-guides, all of the zodiac forecasts. It's a beautiful thing. So if you're somebody who is constantly downloading all of the workbooks that I put out, the e-guides that I put out, moon guides that I put out, the zodiac forecast that I put out, it would be very, very highly recommended that you jump over to Patreon, you sign up for that gold tier, and then everything that I create is in one spot, one place. And of course, you can access it whenever you feel like you're in the mood to do the work within yourself. It's all there for you. One thing I will say, though, is that I did not get my my website membership up. I was really hoping to be able to offer all the same things that I offer on Patreon, but from my website, for those of you that are a little bit, I don't know what the reason is, but hesitant for some reason to sign up to Patreon. I did want to offer that on my website. However, it's not going as smoothly as I would like. There's a lot of back-ended stuff that I don't know that people are even aware of when you run your own website and you're a content creator and memberships and paywalls and all this kind of stuff. And it's very overwhelming. And now that retrograde season is upon us, I've already had some technical glitches with my website, with Patreon, actually with YouTube as well. And so if this is kind of any kind of indicator on what the next technically 4.5 weeks is going to be, I don't know how much progress I'm going to be making on that website membership. So I would definitely recommend, just to bite the bullet, come over to Patreon. I can offer you so much more over on Patreon than I ever could here. One thing I wanted to talk about on here is about my astro class that I often plug in these Ascension forecasts, because so many people wanted me to create an astro class, and I did that over on Patreon. And for my Patreon members, we explored what eclipse energy is all about, the dragon's head and tail, the north and south nodes, and finding that particular energy in your chart, and what that may mean for your life mission, and what that may mean for your previous incarnations, and the lessons in which you've already learned, and the lessons that you need to learn in this lifetime. So if that is something that interests you and something you want to explore, I would definitely recommend jumping over to Patreon and go through the astro classes that we are up to episode 7. They drop every Wednesday. And so if you have any kind of inclination to dive a little bit more in your chart and understand your mission, your purpose here in this lifetime, I definitely recommend you jump over to Patreon, at least watch that latest video where we kind of jumped into what eclipse karmic energy is all about and where to find the north and south node in your chart. Thank you for those of you that are already on Patreon. Love the feedback. So glad you guys are having a good time and learning a new concept. And again, every Wednesday we're going to be covering a new topic. So definitely jump on over. Okay, so the Ascension symptoms for this week. Well, first of all, let me just talk about some patterns. I'm a big pattern person. I like to pick out the patterns. I like to see the cycles. I like to kind of, see what we're working with here. One of the things that I thought was super interesting when I was mapping out the energy for this week is that we start the week with the moon in Gemini. Why is that interesting, you may ask? Well, because Gemini's ruler is Mercury, and Mercury just went retrograde. And of course, we moved into Taurus season with the moon in Taurus. And then when Mercury went retrograde, the moon shifted into Gemini energy, which is a very interesting dynamic going on in our inner realm. What I find to be even more interesting is that we start the week off with the moon in Gemini, which is ruled over by Mercury, and we end the week off with the moon in Virgo energy. Virgo is ruled over by Mercury. We have a Mercury, I'm going to say, dominant week happening here. And what I find to be even more interesting is that when I look at the days and the aspects that are taking place, Venus is a huge starring role this week. And where is Venus, you may ask? Well, she is in Gemini energy. Gemini is ruled over by Mercury. Venus is in her place of power because we are in Taurus season. She rules over Taurus season. Download the Taurus season e-guide if you haven't already. And she is in Gemini energy, which Mercury rules over. Mercury's in Taurus energy, which Venus rules over. This is a mutual reception. We are definitely going to see major epiphanies, major revelations between our heart and our head. We are going to see a huge recalibration, a huge realignment between our heart and head. You best believe that we are moving into a week that is going to be super revealing on what needs to change, especially within our own inner values, with our own happiness, with our own joy, with our own pleasure, when it comes to what it is that we're actually taking part in, what it is that we are sharing with other people, and what it is that we want to build and create in the place of the elements that we have, well, maybe not yet, but we will have identified that are no longer working with us. So there is a lot of energy just right there, just talking about A, the moon cycles, and B, what Venus is up to. So we have a lot going on between our heart and our head this week. And the fact that we're building towards this first quarter moon in Leo that is ruled over by the heart and soul of the zodiac here, we're halfway through this eclipse energy. We will come to some major breakthrough revelations and epiphanies by the end of next week. So pay attention to what's going on in your heart and head. This is not a time of thinking. This is a time of feeling. This is not a time of action. It's a time of thinking about the actions that you feel drawn to make. Okay? So we got that going on. Also, what I would kind of like to say is that although we might not have any major astrology going on this week, we have some pretty big minor astrology aspects taking place. Just to kind of name off a few, Mercury and Mars are going to get together. This is going to be some aggressive ideas, some aggressive thoughts. We are really going to tap into a new level of inspiration and courage, and we're going to be able to actually strategize a plan on how it is that we're going to bring some of those thoughts and ideas into fruition through the actions that we have to take. Again, we're in a time of thinking about the actions that we have to take or we want to make, not actually making them. We have the sun that is going to come up and conjunct that true node, which is going to shine a bright light on some epiphanies, some revelations on where it is that we're going, where it is that we're growing. That's going to be a huge deal. We have the sun sextiling with Saturn, okay, Mr. Karma himself. That is going to be a huge light being shone on where it is that we're bossing up to new roles and responsibilities and karmic contracts. Although we are moving very slowly, we are going to see the progress in our inner realms actually be made. Mars is going to interact with the true node, which is going to give us a little bit of a push, a little bit of a bump to take a small little bit of action in the right path, in the right way. Venus is going to make a very, very healing aspect with Chiron, the wounded healer, of course. We're definitely going to see some major epiphanies, some major pop-offs and revelations, especially where our relationship dynamics are concerned. The moon will bump into Mars, who is in Cancer energy. This is when the moon moves into its place of power in Cancer energy, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, midweek. We're going to have some major revelations there. We have Venus popping off with Uranus, which of course brings the unexpected to full light, especially where money matters and love is concerned. We have Mars squaring off with Chiron, which is definitely not going to feel good, but it's definitely going to reveal to us where it is that we have to pull away from trying to help other people in order to help ourselves. That's going to be a major revelation on what it is that we need to build. And then bam, we have our first quarter moon in that Leo energy, the halfway marker between eclipses, definitely a change of heart. And then we have a full moon-led day here on Friday. The moon will be in Leo all day. That is a major, major deal for us. We have the moon not only popping off with Mercury, which is going to be a little bit of a disconnect between the heart and the head in order for us to make a decision on where it is that we want to go from here. But then the moon squares off with Uranus. And this is definitely going to be a little bit uncomfortable in order for us to realize where our heart is no longer aligned with certain people, certain tasks, certain projects, certain goals, certain visions, certain chores, and of course, reveal to us that breakdown in order for us to have that beautiful breakthrough. And you want to talk about that beautiful breakthrough, we're definitely going to feel that energy by Saturday, by the end of the week. We have Mars sextiling, okay, beautiful energy with Uranus, which is going to bring a rush of energy in, a rush of excitement, a rush of passion, a lot of epiphanies, a lot of revelations, and new flashes, new visions, if you will, on where it is that we want to go from here. So that's kind of the week rundown. I'm semi-excited to see how it's going to play out, especially seeing that we're at the mercy of the cosmos here, being under eclipse season, and of course, the mishaps, the reflections back because of the retrograde season that we're now edging ourselves into as well. I feel like it's going to be crazy and chaotic because of course it has to be, but it's going to sort us out in big ways where we're going to definitely have a different path, a different understanding on what it is that we want to pursue, what it is that we want to direct ourselves into pursuing by the end of the week. Now, that's not to say that it's going to be the actual firmed up plan and strategy that we're going to follow, because of course we still have a full moon lunar eclipse that we have to go through before this eclipse portal will be closed. So that's going to change some things again. However, we're making slow but steady progress. And again, most of this is in our inner realm of processing. And of course, we have to get our inner realm on the straight and narrow in alignment before we can go ahead and actually see that manifest in our exterior realms, in our physical realms. So we got to start somewheres, and we're definitely starting in a very fast and accelerated way under this eclipse energy. So that means, first of all, when it comes to the Ascension symptoms, pay attention to your headspace, the dizziness, the spaciness, the flashes of, I'm going to say, visions and memories coming back, flooding you either from this lifetime or previous lifetimes. There's a lot going on in our mental plane. There's a lot going on in our dreamscapes. So many people are having little bits and pieces be revealed to them in their dreamscapes from, I'm going to say past life issues, past life experiences, but all of that past life stuff is a key indicator on where it is that you have to go and grow from here. So you've been hearing me talk about, like, we're in this phase right now where we're like going back to the future. Like, we should be building towards the future in Taurus season, but we can't because we're under eclipse and retrograde energies, which means that we have to look back in order to go forward. Very much what's happening here. This is why we're having a flood of past life memories, past life feelings, past life glimpses. Also why we're getting memories from this particular lifetime in our unconsciousness just come to the surface of our conscious awareness and bring it kind of full circle. Like, I wonder why I thought about that. You know what I mean? Like, where did that come from? What triggered that? Smells are very, very strong. We have to consider the fact that Taurus energy connects us to the five senses, which means that, you can smell a smell that you haven't smelled in a very, very, very long time and then automatically be thrown back to that particular time period in your life, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise, remains to be seen. There are some very cryptic messages that are going to be triggered and activated through the five senses, especially where smell is concerned. I want you to pay attention to the fact that when we're talking about the smeller, we're talking about the nose. And when we're talking about the nose and we're talking about Ascension symptoms, we connected to the third eye. And the third eye is wide open right now because our intellect is closing down because Mercury is retrograde, which means that our third eye is opening us up to a different perspective in the unconscious memories and past life glimpses that, of course, the minute that we bring it into our awareness, we can reframe our thoughts, our memories, our emotions, our projections, our path and moving forward in a different way. I want you to kind of understand that the allergy symptoms that we are feeling, the clogged nose, the stuffiness, the sinus congestion, all of this is due to the five senses being activated. And because that third third eye is kind of reaching new levels of awareness, we're really starting to see a lot of the physical symptoms be connected to the nose. So your nose may be running, or you might have postnasal drip, or you might be having to clear your throat all the time because of that postnasal drip. There's a lot of congestion, a lot of phlegm, a lot of snot, a lot of just grossness taking place in our headspace, adding to the pressure, adding to the dizziness, adding to the spaciness. One thing I would also say is that there is a stiffness going on in our neck. And a lot of that can lead into, like, I'm not going to call it a headache, but it's like this dull ache. Like, it's not a full-blown headache, but like you have a heavy head. And, you know, Taurus energy, that Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of the headspace, is currently in. Taurus energy is an earth energy. So last week I talked about how we're having like this bobblehead syndrome. Like we feel like our head is like huge and it's heavy and it's weighted. That is because we're in an earth energy. Everything becomes heavier. Everything becomes a little bit more grounded. And so this is why we're going to have the pain in our neck, this dull ache in the back of our head. You could have sore spots, like your hair could hurt on your head. This is all part and parcel of having this recalibration go on in our mental plane. And so, you know, it is a lot of pressure, and there's not a whole lot that you can do about it. Of course, I'm going to spit at you that have, you know, wearing a black hat, putting your hood up. Black always wants to protect the crown. It slows down the light codes. It slows down the processing. We want to use black for protection, especially where the crown is concerned. And if you're having an overwhelming incoming of downloads, or your head is just feeling that pressure, that spaciness, that dizziness, and you just need a break, put on a black hat. Put some tension on that. They call it veiling your crown. There's a reason why, you know, in different cultures and different religions, you wear a headdress. That is, even the little, any kind of religious act where you're covering the crown. And I'm thinking of Jewish people, right? Putting and I'm sorry, I'm totally ignorant because I can't for the life of me think of the word right now. Mercury's getting me really bad. The little caps, the little hats that Jewish people put on. There's a reason for that. And it's all interconnected to the crown. It's all interconnected with being able to protect the crown from, you know, good, bad, or otherwise, really doesn't matter. We just have to understand that the crown is very open, very active right now, and that it could be a lot of pressure. It could be a very high state of uncomfortability in that headspace. And so that is pretty much the only thing that I could recommend that you do, which is to protect that crown, provide some pressure to that headspace, and kind of just be very aware that the discomfort that's going on in the headspace is due to this recalibration, this realignment going on with the eclipse energy, with the retrograde energy. So one thing that I would like for you to always kind of keep in the back of your mind is, am I getting a cold? Do I feel like I'm getting the flu? Is this allergies? Those topics and themes are bringing to light that you are experiencing Ascension symptoms. Now, some people will say, well, I thought I was getting a cold, but it only lasted for like a day or two. That, my friend, is an Ascension symptom. If you are realizing that your allergies are out of whack and you take an allergy medication of some sort or a supplement to try and kind of ease those particular symptoms and it doesn't do anything for you, that is an Ascension symptom. There is a very clear difference between the actual biological cold, flu, allergy versus the energetic impact that our body feels when we're going through some of these very, very potent energetic shifts and events. So I want you to pay attention to that. As far as I want to talk about the eyes for a second. So the eyes have been an interesting feature in our sensory experience just because many of us have a hard time seeing life as it is. And so there's been crusties in our eyes. There's been blurriness. It feels like there's an eyelash in your eye. It feels like you're seeing double, like it's constantly trying to clear the gunk out of your eyes, or seeing orbs or sparkles in your peripheral. All of this is the ever-changing light spectrum. So we just went through a level up, especially with eclipse energy. Everything is whack, right? We're having an interdimensional bleed. So we're seeing things from other realms that we're not quite used to. And our physical bodies are raising their vibrations and frequencies through the ascension process in order to be opened up to a different section of the spectrum that our physical eyes are actually able to see and able to process. Same goes with hearing, same goes with smell, same goes with touch, right? Energy, you can feel energy touching you without the physical contact of something touching you. That leads me into, well, first I should talk about the eyes. That's where I started, but I already know where I'm going. The itchiness in your eyes is, first of all, itchy is healing. Okay, so anytime we have itching in any part of our bodies, that is a sign of growth and healing. So that's a good thing. To have itchy eyes means that we are healing our perspective. We are healing the way that we are seeing things, the way that we're perceiving things out in the exterior realm. But I want you to pay attention, not necessarily to the dry itchiness of your eyes, but the itchiness of your eyelash line. All right. So it might not be the actual eyeballs that are itchy. You could rub and still find no relief. This is like needing to take your nail and like, scraping your eyelash line. And even then it doesn't feel like you've quite scratched that itch. And that again is a good sign. I want you to just think of the function of what your eyelashes do. Your eyelashes are there to protect your eyes from debris, from, particles and dirt and all that kind of stuff. So the fact that our eyelash line is itching means that there's some kind of healing, some kind of growth in the protection of our physical bodies of what it is that we are hesitant to want to see, right? Again, eclipse energy, we're all kind of on this wackadoodle vibe. We don't know whether we're coming or going, whether left, right, up, down. We don't know if we're here, we're gone. Time is accelerating. Space is condensing. It is just a wild, wild time to be alive. And we are feeling a lot of different energies take over our body, which leads me into what I want to talk about now. So there is going to be, anytime we have a recalibration or a realignment phase, I guess, let's say, we go through needing to pay attention to our chakra system. That's what we base all of these ascension symptoms off anyways. All the chakras attach to a different area of the body, rule over different organs in the body, and connect to the emotional blockages that create dis-ease in our physical bodies. It all comes down to the chakra system. Our chakra system is going through a realignment, a recalibration as well. We are feeling this recalibration, this realignment through some very uncomfortable type of ascension symptoms. You may experience your legs falling asleep, having pins and needles more so this coming week than probably the last year all put together. There is this, first of all, it's a little bit crazy because normally, if this was a normal Taurus season, we would say that there is some rigidity, some popping, some cracking in our lower extremities because we're going at a very slow and steady pace and moving forward. The pins and needles, that sensation is a recalibration of A, our nerves, but B, our nerves reacting to the energetic flow of our meridian channels in our body. And then C, the recalibration to the energy coming into our body, going through those meridian channels, stimulating those nerves that are giving us the pins and needles sensation. They are all being activated. The pins and needles energy is almost like an inner conflict being played out in our physical bodies because technically speaking, we are in the direction of wanting to move forward, but the eclipse and the retrograde energy is having us look back. So there's like this uncomfortability of us like literally walking on eggshells or walking on pins and needles, if you will, because we don't know what to expect. There's this element of fear that comes up when we're in foreign territory and we don't know left from right, up from down. Even more than that, it's not just your legs falling asleep, but you will have patches of like pins and needles just come out of nowhere. It could be on your back. It could be, on your wrist. It could be just one finger. It could be in your ear. Like these are all different areas that are going to represent to you where the energy is actually shifting and changing. And so it's very important to take note on where these pins and needle sensations are actually popping up in your body, what area. First of all, figure out what side, left versus right, figure out what hemisphere, upper versus lower. whether it's on the front of your body or on the back of your body. That is very important as well, because it all indicates where it is that these blockages are indicating the change. I'll give you a rattled down summary. So if it is the left side of your body, we're looking at some emotions that need to be processed, some fluidity in your intuition, trusting that gut, trusting the process of the universe. If it is in the right side of your body, it is more of an egoic situation where you're fearful from an egoic standpoint of your survival. So we're more concentrated on action, on making changes, on, whether you're fearful or you're encouraged to do so, doesn't matter. The right side of the body is always indicative of the egoic part of us, where the left side is more of the emotional, spiritual side of us. The right side is where we are aggressive in going after what it is that we want. The left side is more receptive and fluid to that. If it is the upper body that is being most affected, it is essentially putting you in a different perspective in order for you to see different options in moving forward. If it is the lower extremities that are bothering you the most, it means that you are likely too attached to your current circumstances or the past circumstances that have led to where it is that you're currently standing. Fearful to move, right? If it is the front of your body that is experiencing these particular symptoms, you're taking a look at what it is that you're anticipating moving forward. Well, if it is affecting the back of your body, it is more indicative of some past issues that you need to resolve before you can move forward. So knowing, being aware of your body, first of all, is key. Second of all, understanding where these, particular energy fluctuations are taking place is hugely revealing on what it is that you should be focused on and working on in your inner realm through processing and the thoughts and the emotions from a different perspective. And, just being able to kind of identify whether this is an attachment to the past or a fear-based notion of the future, that could be very revealing as well. So definitely pay attention to that. More than just the pins and needles, though, we're going to receive okay, let me just say it to you this way. Sometimes when goosebumps take over your body and you can feel like that wave, like it starts at one place and it kind of ends at the other place, but it very, very much feels like a wave of energy that the goosebumps kind of, move through. Well, we're going to be touched by waves of energy this week that are going to, how do I want to say this? That are going to indicate to you when there is a blast of energy going through your internal energy program to help you realign and recalibrate. So if out of nowhere you feel, this cool breeze take over, or this warm breeze take over, or this wave of goosebumps take over, or a change in your temperature, please know that that is kind of like a reset going on in your energetic form. And you can kind of, feel very different. It's a very stimulating type of experience. I want you to pay attention in those moments. First of all, what were you thinking about? What were you talking about? Because that's a huge indicator on whether or not you had a revelation, an epiphany that changed your inner realm, that of course changed your vibration and frequency and has you adapting to a different perspective, a different notion, a different experience than what it is that you were currently sitting in. Also pay attention again to where this is taking place in your body. Again, front, back, upper, lower, right, left, all of those are very, very important indicators on the change and transformation that you're currently going through. Now, we will be seeing a change in our hunger patterns. Typically speaking, Taurus season can be a little bit overindulgent because we are looking to the luxuries of life, the little basic needs of necessities. We like comfort. We like food. We like, creature comforts is what Taurus season is all about. The con side, or the not so nice side of it, is that we can overindulge. We can become a little bit complacent and lazy, if you will. We can pour too much into making ourselves comfortable, which means that we're not doing the work, because in order to do the work, you have to be uncomfortable. And so what I will say is that we are going through this change in our eating habits and patterns, which we have anyways, but most of those have been to our digestive system. This is actually like cravings. This is actually like just eating and then feeling like you're starving again. This is the want, need, and desire to fill the physical body with food. And a lot of that is because we're in an earth energy. We want to ground, and the best way that we want to ground is to fill the body up with food. Please make good choices, okay? We don't want to get to the end of Taurus season and then realize that we gained 20 pounds by just, giving our grounding energies what it is that we want through food and through cravings. But the change in cravings is going to change as far as the food goes. What I also want you to be aware of is the cravings for sex is going to change as well. Taurus energy, 5 senses, pleasure, okay? Our desire for sex is going to change. Now, could increase, could decrease. That's all part and parcel of where it is that you're at in your path. But nonetheless, we are going to see the cravings change in whatever capacity they're going to show up. They are going to be there, but just know that food and sex, likely the top 2, okay? This is a time when we're going to realize new desire, right? Desire. First of all, physical desire, Taurus energy. What sits across from Taurus energy? Scorpio energy. Scorpio energy is in the dark right now because the sun is shining in this Taurus energy. What does that Scorpio energy represent? Dark, deep, intense passion and desire, right? So we're going through it right now. We're realizing what it is that we now want for ourselves. And that's why the first quarter moon in Leo energy, being in the heart and the soul of the zodiac, in the midst of this eclipse energy is so freaking important, because we're literally going to change our minds on a dime. Some of the things that, we craved in the past, or that we felt were self-satisfying in the past, they don't appeal to us anymore. We have a new direction, a new path, a new passion. Might not be realized as of yet, but this is what this eclipse and retrograde season is going to illuminate us to. So pay attention to what it is that you are craving. Okay, so let's say this. If you are craving sweets, it's because you don't have enough passion, joy, and pleasure in your life. And therefore, you need to realize where it is that you have to create more of that in order to curve that sweet tooth. You're craving sweetness because you're lacking it in your day. If you're craving salty, let's say, it's because you need a little bit more grounding energy, that saltiness, right? You might need to kind of tone down the sweetness in order to go salty. Maybe you're trying to just be happy-go-lucky, and realistically, within your inner realm, you're a little bit more salty, shady, and upset about things than you're actually leading on. That salt energy is very grounding. It connects you to the earth. So it means that you have to come out of your headspace, come out of your emotions, and actually deal with what is going on right now. Chocolate, okay, chocolate is a very, very connected to sexual desire, believe it or not. And so you can tell a lot from what it is that your physical body is craving, and see what energetically, emotionally, spiritually you're actually craving that is being manifested through the want, need, and desire to stuff your mouth with, sweet, salty, savory, whatever the case may be. It's an indicator of what it is that you're lacking in your physical realm. So pay attention. This is also going to create a little bit of a gassy situation within us again. I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of disruption in our digestion, but I say that very, very cautiously, because when the moon moves into Cancer energy late Monday, it will be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It will move out of Cancer, let's see, early Thursday morning. Why is that important, you may ask? Well, because the moon rules over Cancer energy, and when the moon is in Cancer, we tend to worry. Cancer rules over the digestive system as well, as does Virgo energy, but two different things here. I would say that the Cancer energy connects to digestion through worry, through guilt, through shame, while the Virgo energy connects to the digestive field through stress, through anxiety, through I'm going to say obsessive compulsive needs, wants, fixations. So I'm not going to say we're going to have a tough digestive week, I'm just going to say pay attention to the cravings that you have, what has changed there, what you're being called to put in your body, and how that has an effect on the output of your digestive system, let's say. But things are going to get burpy. They're going to get gassy on the other end. We're going to have this air bubble right up under our ribs. That is the solar plexus trying to do its thing through its recalibration, its realignment. You can actually, poke your fingers underneath your rib cage. When you have that air bubble, trace it all the way down. You're going to be able to move it around. That is an indicator that A, yes, there's gas in there, but B, that your solar plexus, which is your will, your strength, your focus, your determination, your want, need, and desire to move forward, where that is changing as well. The inner realm is definitely going to be more active than our outer realm. That's just, the time in which we're in. But as I mentioned, not having huge major astrology this week is a good thing. We are going to deal with these minor astrology aspects all throughout the week, like I've already rattled off, which are going to help us fine tune our inner realm and prepare us for the major changes and shifts that will be taking place in the outer realm. Of course, once our inner realm gets aligned, gets recalibrated, gets on the same page with one another, then we're actually going to be able to take action, make moves, and see our outer realms be rearranged to actually mirror back what is going on in the inside. So guys, that was a little bit of a mouthful, but hopefully you resonated with some of those messages, some of those particular symptoms, if you will. Drop me a line in the comments here below. Let me know which Ascension symptom you are feeling the most, which one you can't seem to shake, which one just absolutely bewilders you. Of course, there's many Ascension symptoms that can pop up when we go through this particular shift, but that again is kind of predetermined by where it is that you're at in your healing journey, how much time you've been putting into this healing journey, how many levels of change of frequency and vibration you've gone through. So of course, I would never be able to cover them all, but those are the main ones that I think the collective will likely experience as we move throughout the energy of this week. So I want to thank you so much for being here, for tuning in, for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for sharing your time, your energy, your space with me and with all of us here in this beautiful community that we've built. I want to thank you for showing up for yourself. I want you to thank you for showing up for me. I did that backwards. Usually I say thank you for showing up for me, but mostly thank you for showing up for yourself. But of course, Mercury retrograde has us all discombobulated, and I will be blaming Mercury for all of my F-ups for the next 3 weeks, and I invite you to do the same. So guys, I want to thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a beautiful week, and we'll talk to you soon.